Joe Flacco is a must-have for the Cincinnati Bengals in this 2026 offseason, and I mean that with the entirety of my heart. We cannot go another season, God forbid, Joe Burrow goes down like he did in Week 2 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I have a lot of thoughts on and maybe I'll make a video on in the future, and we have to rely on Jake Browning as our starter. That Jake Browning we saw in 2023, yeah, he doesn't exist anymore, especially in that Minnesota game where he balled out, frankly. I don't know where he went, but he's gone, especially in the year of 2025 where we needed his help. I have Jake Browning's stats pulled up to the right of me, so let's take a look at those. In the 4 games he started, really 5 games, but who's to say? He went 6 TDs for 8 interceptions. How the hell is that possible? You're on a team with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and you will go 6 touchdowns for 8 interceptions. So let's look at that game breakdown. In the Minnesota game, which is the first game he really started, we lost 48-10. I believe it's the worst loss in Bengals history. And he completed 19 of his 27 passes, threw for 140 yards, and had a completion percentage of around 70.4%, which on paper, 70.4%, sign me up. That's not bad at all. But then you look that he scored 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions, and you begin to wonder, how is that possible? With a team with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, all you got to do is give them the damn ball, and they can do the rest because they're that kind of playmakers. Same thing to say about that Denver game where we lost 28-3. He completed 14 of his 25 passes for 125 yards and a 56% completion percentage and scored 0 touchdowns. Again, on a team with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, he scored 0 touchdowns. Now, let's look at when Joe Flacco entered the picture. Again, I'm going to pull up his stats to the right of me, and we're going to take a look. In his first game, he came in against the Green Bay Packers. Again, we did lose that game, but I think it's important to bring up. He went 29 for 45 in passes. Already, we are doubling the amount of passes that Jake Browning was throwing, which is important because you have a team with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You're going to want to throw the rock. It's as simple as that. You got to get the ball into their hands. They're the playmakers. He had a completion percentage of 64% and threw for 219 yards. Again, almost doubling what Jake Browning was doing. Next, we go to that Pittsburgh game, which we won. Joe Flacco went 31 for 47 and had a completion percentage of 66% and threw for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's phenomenal. That's amazing. That's Joe Burrow numbers. At the top of Joe Burrow's game, that is what we're seeing here. And Jake Browning cannot live up to that. Now we're going to go to one of the last games he started, which was the Chicago Bears game, which we did lose, but I think it is Joe Flacco's best game on paper that he has ever had as a starter. At 41 years old, he went 31 for 47. He had a 66% completion percentage, and he had 4 TDs to 2 interceptions and threw for 470 yards. Let me say that again. 470 yards. That is way more than double than what Jake Browning was doing. If you wanted to know, that's a quarterback rating of 109.4%. Now, seeing this, you're beginning to see why Joe Flacco is a must-have, and Jake Browning needs to be packing his bags and getting out of the Bengals facility. And I believe we're top 10 in cap space going into this offseason for 2026. Use that money. Joe Flacco just wants to play. In every interview he has had over the last year, all he says is he just wants to play the game and he wants to help his team. So get him a contract. Sure, there's probably going to be other teams that are going to be looking for quarterbacks that might try to nag him. But if you make the move, he likes it here. He likes playing with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. He signed jerseys when he left the facility talking about how amazing Jamar Chase was, and he talks nothing but praise about T. Higgins. So if I was the Cincinnati Bengals front office, if I was Duke Tobin or Zach Taylor or even Mike Brown, I would be taking Joe Flacco in a heartbeat. And I hope you agree with me. Take care.